Welcome back, Guardians. This is G. Bosha, bringing you another edition of Become Legend. This week's Nightfall is the Abomination Heist, and it's not fun. Berserk, Specialist, Juggler, and Chaff makes for a rough time. So the first two rooms really aren't that terrible. Where it starts to get nasty is when you have to deal with the ogres here. Their eye blasts deal a ton of damage, and you have no way of staggering them because Berserk is active. You'll have to deal with the wizard here at the end. You can try to snipe it if you can actually shoot. Obviously I can't, I'm very terrible at sniping. As you progress on, the next couple of rooms really aren't that difficult either. You can kind of slow play them a little bit. Use your supers to kind of power through. Where the strike starts to get really difficult is the final room. The boss room is incredibly annoying. You're going to find yourself wanting to put your back to a wall. Without having radar, it makes it a little difficult to address the ads. You have the boss itself trying to kill you with his eye beams. You have Shriekers constantly shooting at you, and their death blasts when you finally defeat them. You also have to deal with Hive Knights that jump into the middle of the room and shoot boomers at you. Basically, for this final room, you want to focus on ad control. You can see here I start to almost get a little overwhelmed by the thrall. In the end, I ended up finding a pretty nice spot over here on the left side. You hide behind this pillar, protects you a little bit from the boss, a little bit from the Shrieker, and still allows you to shoot the knight that jumps into the middle. The gun that seemed to work the best for me here ended up being Telesto. You couple that with the Weapons of Light, you end up doing a ton of damage to the boss, and give yourself a little bit of protection along the way. The Blessing didn't really help. I found that I took too much damage regardless, so I'd rather just try to get as much damage output as I could, just to try to end the nightmare. Let's shift over to something that might be a little bit more enjoyable this week, the Heroic Strikes. You have Arc Burn, still have Chaff unfortunately, but you also have Catapult. That means Blade Dancers are going to have a ton of fun. For best results, equip Shinobu's Vow and just start throwing skip grenades. Stormcrawlers could have just as much fun. Obviously the super is going to do a ton of damage. Really great for ad clearing. Titans, obviously you're going to want to run a Striker class here. It's going to give you the most viability. Armamentarium, really good to run double lightning grenades. In regards to a weapon loadout, Solid Supercell is going to be your go-to, and then any other arc weapons you want to bring. This week, Shaxx is bringing back Control. You have 7 matches to complete. 30 advantage kills, 15 captures, and the Beeline Medal. The advantage kills simply means you have to have more zones than your enemy. That can be you have 2 and they have 1, or you have 1 and they have 0. You just have to have an advantage. The medal that's probably going to be hardest for most people here is going to be the Beeline Medal. Everybody's going to be gunning for B off the start. It's advantageous to take B because you're given A or C at the beginning of every match. The best way I've found to take B is you either bait the enemy in and then grenade them as they try to capture it, or you go hard and try to prevent them by throwing grenades. That way they can't push up into the zone as you're trying to capture it. Do as Shaxx says, and defend those zones, Guardian. This week's Taken champion is Urksary. You'll find her in the Cosmodrome Skywatch. It gets a little sticky here because, as you can see, you have Warsats. You also have to deal with the Hive champion if he decides to spawn in, which he did. Then you also have to deal with constant captains and throwing their Hadoukens at you. In addition to there not being a whole lot of areas really to hide behind, I'd prefer just sitting back, throwing a couple of Yallarhorn shots at him, and just sniping in general, or using a scout rifle. Shifting over to vendors, this week Future War Cult's taking Spin Metal. Dead Orbit is taking Helium Filament donations. New Monarchy is taking Spirit Bloom. Eris Morn is taking Wormspore. Varix is awesome this week. He's bringing you Devil's Disguise, the Kel's Cloak, the Kel's Bond, and the King's Mark, all as Tier 12 possible item. From the speaker, Tier 12 items include the Spirit of Saturn. And that's going to do it for this week, Guardians. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Become Legend.